Hi guys, and welcome to yet another episode of Real. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Chelsea.
And tonight, we are going to be exploring sustainable fashion and spending for basic needs versus splurging on bigger stuff that you actually don't need. So which one are you, Chelsea?
Which one am I? I think I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. Like every girl, I definitely love to have a good shop, but I'm not afraid of the odd op-shop purchase or downsizing purely for basic needs. So what about you?
I like to think of myself as a pretty good spender, actually, a bit of a bargain hunter, in that I've not bought a t-shirt since 2003.
Really?
Yep, totally. Not a sustainable choice, just the thing that got my own beefs with fashion, and I bought 8 t-shirts in 2003 and I thought, hey, it's going to take me through all the way for the rest of my life.
You've done very well.
Thank you. But there's one thing that I do not do, and that is home brand imitation stuff, okay? I understand where you're going, I like the idea of it, but I'm Australian and I want my Vegemite to say Vegemite on it.
Well, it's people like you that could learn a lot from tonight's episode, Anthony.
Could learn a lot.
Just because something is branded doesn't always mean it's necessarily the best. Sometimes it's even just as good to even reuse the resources around us.
That's really blown my mind because you're some sort of like sustainable fashion guru.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I always thought it was just about like sustainability was always just about like reusing your water bottles and things like that. But apparently there's a whole lot more that I don't know.
It is. Well, the environmental element is a massive part, but if this season has taught us anything so far, it is that sustainability goes far beyond that.
For our first segment, we're going to take a look at an artist who has begun seeking a more sustainable way of creating his artwork, not only making it cheaper, but also reusing and recrafting already used sources. Let's check it out.
Kind of grew up in a household of creative people. You know, my parents had a small business where they made sort of architectural work for houses, all the ridges and finials. So I grew up with big kilns and clay and just numerous things to be able to play with.
What's the premise behind your art combined with sustainability?
That's probably something that's come about in the last sort of 4 years, where I was doing some really large and exciting projects that would sort of consume pallets of timber and materials, and came to this point where I had to reflect on my own artwork and what was the message I was trying to get out there. Did I want my art to be something more than entertainment? And that's when I really started looking at sustainability, initially by all the projects I would do. I would recycle, try to rework them into other projects, reduce the amount of materials that I would use, so calculate every little bit so I wouldn't have excess timber or steel. Sometimes those really simple switches or in behaviour change can make the most dramatic changes. Funding is going away from the arts. How can we, support those spaces? And if you can offer initiatives where we'll replace all the globes and all the galleries, and it saves them hundreds of dollars every month on their electricity cost, that's not only helping the environment, but it's also helping their issues of longevity within the creative industry. Talking to all the galleries saying, we've got an environmentally friendly paint that's actually cheaper than the ones you're currently using, would you be interested? Inevitably it will grow, and I'm optimistic that there will be much stronger messages from the art community.
Wow, Charles, you could have mentioned that guy was the most amazing looking guy on the planet. I mean, if that guy, in all
You
seriousness,
alright? You got a temperature?
I've got a fever. If that guy told this country to be sustainable, 50% of the population, well, probably more, not just the ladies, I'd go close to say 70% would be totally on board with absolutely whatever he had to say.
Right. Well, he is a bit of a dreamboat, I have to admit. But
Wow.
I didn't think he'd have that kind of impact on you. Anyway, while Anthony's just having a breather on the side, and we've got everybody apparently excited about being sustainable, perhaps we should get straight into the new craze of clothes swapping.
Clothes swapping.
Yeah.
Went to one of those parties once. It was awesome.
I don't think we're talking about the same kind of party. Clothing exchanges face that problem of a closet full of clothes but nothing to wear, which we all have. It gives you a chance to trade your once loved items you spent all your hard-earned dollars on and give them a new life with somebody else. Not to mention, you also get to trade up to something new yourself.
So is this exchange thing, is this strictly a clothes thing, or can you do anything? Because I've got a couple of mates that are willing to upgrade, willing to trade.
You shouldn't say that.
Why?
You shouldn't say that.
Why?
I think we should probably start with just sustainable fashion first,
Okay,
Anthony, and then we can deal with that issue. Fashionistas, tune in and start rummaging through your closets because this one is for you.
I just want a tall mate who's good at basketball.
I'm here at Fed Square for the Melbourne contingent of the 2012 National Swap Day, where very shortly, fashionistas from all over Melbourne will converge to swap their trash for someone else's treasure. Let's have a look inside. Now I'm here with Lara McPherson, who's been volunteering with the Melbourne Clothing Exchange for around 2 years now. So tell me, Lara, how did it all start?
The Clothing Exchange actually started as a research project as part of founder Kate Luckins' master's program at RMIT. So we've been going, this is our 6th year now. I've been involved for about 2 years, and we've got outposts in a couple of other capital cities in Australia. So it's grown from a tiny little experimental project to a fully fledged mini enterprise, I suppose.
And what are the environmental benefits of clothes swapping?
I suppose the idea, particularly when Kate founded it, her real interest is in sustainable behaviours, particularly in young people. So the Clothing Exchange for us is a good way to keep items that might be on their way out of favour in circulation.
I'm here with the lovely Jill Chivers from shopyourwardrobe.com. Jill, what brings you to the Clothing Exchange?
I've had a relationship with the Clothing Exchange for 3 years now, and their message and my message about sustainable style are really aligned. Plus, National Swap Day is a really exciting event.
Tell me a little bit about shopyourwardrobe.com.
Shopyourwardrobe.com was based on my own experience of having a year without clothes shopping and shopping in my own wardrobe for that year. I had so many clothes and I just wasn't wearing a fraction of them. And that year was about wearing more of my clothes, being more creative, having a sustainable relationship to my wardrobe and not continuing to add and add and add. I stopped the intake and I started to use what I had, and I got more creative about that. And I developed a healthy relationship to my wardrobe, to my wallet, and to my shopping habit.
How was your experience? Did you enjoy it?
I did very much. I haven't been to one of these events before, but I've heard about them from last year and how successful they were, and I'm really glad I came along, and I've got a couple of really beautiful things to wear come spring racing.
So you found that everything's really good quality?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a good opportunity to explore and venture out from your normal fashion comfort zone to get something you might not normally purchase and try it out and take it home. I don't know, I'm really excited.
Well, I know where I'll be heading on my next free weekend. I'm already thinking of some pieces sitting up the back of my wardrobe that I need to get rid of.
I was sceptical at first, I really was, but this clothes swapping thing, I'm really getting into. I reckon there'd be a whole heap of people out there that would do me a great deal on the jumper that my mum got me last Christmas.
Oh, no. I hope she's not watching.
I actually hope she is. Lift your game, mother. It was a horrible, horrible jumper.
You shouldn't talk to your mum like that.
Well, all right, let me put it this way. It was a jumper. It was grey. It had a red collar, and in blue writing across here, it said "Move out." So I don't know what that's about.
I think it had a very definitive message in that one.
Can't wear that with jeans. I might just be a beginner with this whole sustainable fashion business, but how are the rest of you? Are any of you sustainable, or are you one of those people that's all about the brands and all about the big names in fashion? Seriously, Charles, I know that you're a very nice person, but you know exactly who I'm talking about. All those big wigs down Collins Street with their big wigs.
With their massive wigs, apparently. Yeah. The ones that wear designer clothes and spend heaps of money on them and then get a whole new wardrobe the next year.
That is the people that I'm talking about. Well, look, putting our personal opinions aside for a minute, we're hit the streets and we're going to explore the sustainable fashion practices of the average Melburnian. We're going to see what you guys think. So let's take a look.
I'd definitely wear second-hand clothing if the item was right.
I do wear it, not on me at the moment, but I do buy it and I do wear it, and yeah, I have no problem with it at all. It's just a piece of clothing. I don't care if someone's worn it, it's been washed, so whatever.
I must admit, I don't go in op shops that often. I buy a fair amount of second-hand clothing from op shops or markets and all that, and so yeah, I wear it all the time.
I hand my clothes down to my sisters and stuff like that, so it's pretty much doing the same thing, you know. People can reuse what I don't need.
Here we are. I'm wearing an example of second-hand clothing. This is from an op shop. My trousers are from an op shop. My shoes are new, and my shirt is second-hand. So to answer your question, yes.
Wow, there were some very, very interesting views there. But up next, we're going to get very serious because I'm going to talk to Dr. Jan Libik about how we can save money and how to create a more sustainable financial future for ourselves. So get your piggy banks out, get your pens and papers ready, and I'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Real. We are sitting here with Dr. Jan Liebig, who is a senior lecturer of business economics, and he's hopefully going to give us some insight into how we can help create a more sustainable future for ourselves, and also look at our spending and splurging and all the things in between. So thanks for joining us today, Jan.
You're welcome.
Well, we're going to talk about spending and stuff. And spending, I think, for people at this school anyway, people our age, you know what I mean, is it important to start thinking about? Definitely start thinking about stuff early. What, in your opinion, are some of the biggest mistakes that people make in regards managing their finances?
Look, it seems one of the major problems is that they put all the eggs in one basket. They don't diversify enough. Yeah. In the sense that if something negative happens, if a shock hits, they're going to lose their savings, as opposed to having it spread into different type of investments, in which case they might lose something, but they wouldn't lose all of it.
Right.
This is what's called diversification. So one of the examples is if you have a job with a certain company, and then all your savings is actually invested in the stock of that same company. If the company goes under, not only you lose your income because you lose your job, but you also lose your savings. Whereas if you have it invested in other companies or other type of investments, then it's not going to happen.
So what you're saying is, don't take all my money and put it on black.
Well, that's exactly right.
Gotcha. Put it on red, folks.
Well, not quite. No.
Not quite. What sort of advice would you give to young people that are just sort of starting out in life in regards to managing their accounts?
To leave a bit more of a buffer. They're too optimistic about their future income, and if something kind of unexpected happens, they might. It must be very stressful if you just every month you're just counting the numbers and you're hoping you will break even. So, and that stress is unnecessary. So I would advise people not to go for the dream house, but maybe go for the smaller house or the smaller car. Just to be on the safe side. Yeah. And maybe a broader lesson is not to try to fall into this keeping up with the Joneses kind of mentality where you always have to have what your classmate or what your neighbor has. I think that can be very detrimental to people's well-being.
What should we be spending our money on, if not?
One of the basic theories in economics tells you that you can't compare utility or kind of well-being or satisfaction across different people. Yeah. There are some basic things that we can, if you're starving, we know that's a really bad thing. But once your basic needs are covered, food and drink and clothing and so on, then whatever is on top of that, it's very subjective.
How important do you think it is to instill good saving practices on kids of a young age? Very important.
I mean, there's a raging debate in biology and many other disciplines about, the nature versus nurture distinction. What's the effect there? Is it more the genes or is it more the kind of upbringing and more the education? Both are important, but the early childhood influences are really crucial. There are some interesting examples of how the early childhood how important it is. This Stanford marshmallow experiment, have you heard about it in the early 1970s?
Has it got something to do with Ghostbusters?
No. The bottom line is that they took 4-year-old kids and they gave them a marshmallow. And they said, look, you can eat it, or if you wait another 20 minutes without eating it, we're going to give you another marshmallow. Basically, what they were testing is this theory of delayed gratification, whether you are able to, with the vision of some future reward, whether you're able to resist the temptation. Were you patient enough to think about the future as opposed to just the present and eat it.
Yeah.
And then they were looking at the same kids over time, and what they were finding is that the decision whether they were able to resist or not was a great predictor of success later on, including things like high school grades.
Yeah.
So it seems like if you have small kids, this is one of the things you should try to teach them. Not to want everything now, but also to think about you might have something left for tomorrow, that sort of thing. To be successful in life, we really have to think about the future. We need to accumulate, education and human capital. We need to save to be able to invest, that sort of thing. And if people don't have it, then they engage in very bad behaviors or in suboptimal behavior.
Thanks so much for coming in today. Well, I think our viewers will agree that you have certainly given us a lot to think about. So thanks for coming in again, Jan. That's all we have with Jan at the moment. So we'll see y'all on the other side of this break. Welcome back to Real. Now we're going to watch a short documentary called Waste Not, Want Not, which explores the idea that we've been discussing tonight and using all the possible resources around us and not letting anything go to waste. Charles, you pretend that you're so sustainable, but I'm not so sure that you do what's coming up in this doco. Unless you do fancy a bit of dumpster diving later?
Don't think so.
Oh, I should
Not a
reject
fan.
all my advances. Now, tune in to Waste Not, Want Not.
A freegan is, depending on the circumstance, usually it means they'll eat anything that comes out of a bin.
No, I would never eat food out of a dumpster. I know too much about microbes.
Look, in my present situation, no, but who knows, you know, touch wood, I don't end up homeless or on the streets or any of that kind of thing, but I prefer not to.
If I was starving, I would, but I'm not starving, never have been.
Yeah, I've done it plenty of times.
Yeah, I've done it as well, yeah.
Yeah, they've done it for about a year.
I do get almost all of my food out of the bin, but I hardly ever buy anything from the shopping centre. The idea behind it is that by consuming the waste product of like a wasteful system, you're not actually contributing to that industry.
When I see a homeless person or someone rummaging through the bin, I just feel sorry for them because they can't get food any other way, so they're just doing the best that they can. I try not to look down on them because of it.
Look, I feel sorry for them. Like, I mean, you know, maybe there was a time when I'd sort of look at them and think, oh God, how disgusting or how desperate.
I imagine they're very poor and desperate, and I don't blame them for doing it. And I probably would in the same circumstances.
Because there's a lot of stigma attached to getting stuff out of bins, people tend to think that you'd have to be in a pretty bad way to be doing it. So they've got a bit of like sympathy or time for you. Pity. I don't really see myself as a poor person or a homeless person. I'm doing it as a choice because I think it's the right thing to do as opposed to out of pure necessity. Like a few things that I do buy that are really hard to get out of the bin, which is like soy milk, tea, cereal. Apart from that, pretty much everything comes out of the bin. All vegetables, meat I eat out of the bin. Once I found an amazing like organic rump steak. Heaps of bacon, and bacon lasts for ages. Chicken tend to stay away from because of the salmonella. Never gotten sick, not once. Once I ate like a steak that tasted, it's like a pork steak or something that tasted a little bit funny. But I didn't get sick because I cooked it quite well. Never need to buy eggs. Like if you dumpster dive, you never need to buy eggs and you never need to buy bread or pasta or rice. I really like taking beer out of the dumpster. That's my favourite thing to take out of the dumpster.
I worked for a big supermarket chain. I worked there for about 5 years. I think the bakery is the main thing because they make all this fresh bread and there's all... I remember once I worked at a big store and there was like almost 3 full trolleys full and they all just had to get thrown in the bin and it was perfectly edible, all of it. I think the reason why they do throw it out is because they don't want to risk somebody getting sick from eating old food.
So today we have a reasonably spicy stir fry, sort of Southeast Asian style creamy coconut noodle thing. We have some fresh fruit. We have a pear and ginger cake. tomato damper, which was constructed by salvaging some soup that was going to be thrown out. We're Food Not Bombs, and we do a variety of things. One of which is that we serve food on the street as a means of reclaiming public space as public space, making sure that food is one of those things that everyone can share instead of like having to be rich enough to buy it. We also use Food Not Bombs as a means of supporting other sort of political actions or community actions that we think are important. It's been in Melbourne for about 12 years now, and it's had heaps and heaps of support at various points and very little support at every point. But it manages to serve every week, whether there's 50 people involved or whether there's sort of 6 or 7 people that are just keeping it going. The idea is that it's a completely open community project and you don't need to be someone's friend to be part of Food Not Bombs. All this food was sourced from the Queen Vic markets, and whatever food we managed to bring from home, steal from work, find thrown away somewhere, beg out of people. Definitely a portion of our food comes from dumpster diving. At the Queen Vic market, predominantly Garden Organics and Queen Vic Organics donate food that would otherwise go into the compost for them. Either it was over-ordered or it's a bit tired, it's still edible, but maybe it's not, it doesn't look good enough to sell. Maybe they just don't have enough space in their cool room. Basically, anything that's vegan we'll take and try to put to good use.
I've been involved with Food Not Bombs for about 3 years, I suppose. But I guess I've always been involved in recycling food, and I do dumpster a bit if I'm going past a dumpster. Well, there's this one place where I used to go to get bread, and then they more or less said I couldn't go there anymore. It's this bakery, and outside there's this cupboard, and every day it's full of bread that they don't sell. And I just used to go there and scavenge through it. They eventually started saying to me, oh, I don't know about this food, it shouldn't really be fed to people, we don't want to get sued. And I said, but by the time it gets to the people, it hasn't got your name on it. I don't even mention your bakery. It'll be in a pudding or something. And he was like, oh, just humming and hawing. And then I thought if I was going there for the first time, I would just lie and say that I had emus or something, because there's another woman who's got emus and they just give her whatever she wants. At least with Food Not Bombs, it's a tangible thing that we can actually do. We can't change the world, but we can feed people, and we make a really strong connection with people through the food.
Wow, I am all for the 10-second rule, Charles, but I reckon heading over to that guy's place for dinner would be a whole different kind of experience.
Yeah, it definitely would. But it does just go to show that it can be done, and there's no point letting food go to waste. And like we explored earlier, it's not just food. A lot of other things around us can be given a second life.
That's true. Well, Chelsea and I, we're off to go do a bit of dumpster diving to find our dinner.
I don't think so. But I reckon we've learnt some great things tonight. What about you?
I've definitely learned a lot about sustainable fashion, but I've also picked up some tips on how to keep my bank balance nice and healthy.
It's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. Well, thanks again to Jan for joining us on the Green Couch. Thanks to you all for tuning in at home. Thanks for Chelsea being here.
Thank you.
This is another episode of Real, and we'll see you next week for the season finale. That's it from us.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao. Wiedersehen.
Ciao.
Buongiorno.
That's really good. You did really well.
I don't know any other foreign words. Do I?
On the next episode of Real, we ask the question, what's the best advice you've received to save money? Professor Ken McPhail will discuss accounting, bike mechanic Ari Shaw takes us for a ride, and Anna Gonzalez shows us how to save in the documentary Alternative to Money.